This segment is brought to you by Buick. Exceptional by design.
Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate. Glad to have you joining us, and I'm glad to have now joining us on stage Grieg Chauvin from Morgan City. She's a little bit of a historian, and we've been chatting during the break, and she's been telling me some wonderful histories. But thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
All right, and I know you're big into history in Morgan City, and one of the things, of course, that's big is the Shrimp and Petroleum Festival. Can you tell us what you all are putting on the exhibit and where it's taking place at?
We're having a 90th anniversary of Shrimp Festival exhibit. It's taking place at Far Chapel Methodist Church on Federal Avenue in Morgan City. We're going to have gowns, crowns, some trains, some things, but they're also going to be 28 30 by 70 inch panels that tell the story year by year from 1936 when the festival began to last year's festival.
I think we have a couple of the panels showing some pictures there that you have. That's of course some that is going to be on those panels. We have a couple in the studio. It's going to be hard to kind of see them, but we'll show them. But again, there's just an illustrious history that all takes place, and we're talking a little bit about how you can walk by things and not even know the history behind them. And
right.
Morgan City certainly has a wonderful tale to tell.
There's a lot of hidden history there. It's a history, but there's a lot of hidden history. And since I've been involved in finding out these things, I've learned things that I never knew before, but I know that the citizens of Morgan City don't even know, and they're really, really interesting. With regard to Shrimp Festival, when I started researching, they started in 1936 as a trade union march, carrying placards down 2nd Street. They ended at a pub down the street, Eggley's, where they had Beano games and a little dance.
Okay.
And then the next year, someone had seen a blessing of the fleet in another town. So they decided, we need to bless our shrimp fleet, because the trade unions were fishermen, shrimpers, and trappers. So it became more focused on the shrimp industry. And so there was a blessing of the fleet from a barge. The priest stood on a barge and blessed the boats as they went around the river. And that evolved to priests being on the boats.
Certainly. And
the boat parade where they're decorated and encircle the river over and over again.
Okay, and then I guess, at some point, whenever the oil industry took off, that was also incorporated. When did that turn around?
I'm pretty sure that's 1967 when petroleum was added, because the petroleum industry was so big in the area at the time. Before that, though, there was a time when a queen would be from the shrimp business or from a shrimping family. The king would be from an oil family.
Oh, really?
And then they'd switch it off. So they've been chosen in different ways through the years. In the 1930s and 40s, the kings were all 12-year-olds. They were children.
Okay.
It wasn't until, I think it was the late 40s, that we had our first mature king.
And you have, I think, if we can go back to the panels on the ground, you have a couple in the top left, or top left, that's 2 pictures of king and queens.
On the one that says 1960, that was our centennial. Brashear, with the former name of Morgan City, became a town in 1860. So in 1960, we had not only a shrimp festival, but in conjunction, we had a 10-day centennial festival. And if you look at the top of it, to the left was the centennial queen and king. I'm sorry, to the right. And to the left, there was a color division at that time of the centennial and of the shrimp festival. And so that's Miss Jackie Ennis Brown, who was the queen, the black queen of the centennial at the time. And as you scan down, I don't know if you can see all of these, some are from newspapers, but we had the Centennial Belles, women who dressed in costume and wore hats. The men were the brothers of the brush. They all had mustaches and beards. There were colored Centennial Belles and colored brothers of the brush. They were participating in the festivals. The picture in the middle that shows a tiny oil rig, that is the president of Mobil Oil. That's a miniature oil rig that stands in the middle of Morgan City, has an eternal flame. It was instituted that year. The president of Mobil Oil had to climb up that's a man on there, climbing up there to light the eternal flame. So it didn't happen automatically.
I don't know if you'd see too many CEOs today climbing up on an oil rig.
It had to happen, so he did it.
That's
On the opposite side, it says the war years, 1944. The young woman who's in that picture is also young. She's the only queen who was allowed to choose her own king. So that's who she chose, was this handsome man standing next to her. Some of the kings were chosen by whoever brought the largest shrimp catch in. They weighed the shrimp catch, and the heaviest catch, that person got to be king.
all right. We do have to take a quick break. When we
Okay.
come back, I'd like to talk a little bit more about what's on that page, the reenactment. That's
Yes.
pretty interesting stuff. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned right here on HTV.
This segment was brought to you by Buick. Exceptional by design.
Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and I'm happy to be joined by Greg Chauvin, who's been teaching us all a little bit about the history of Morgan City. We're talking a little bit about the upcoming exhibit of the Shrimp and Petroleum Festival that you're going to have. Again, what's the dates for that? It's August 19th through September 6th?
Those are the dates of the exhibit. The festival is actually the Thursday before Labor Day through the Monday of Labor Day.
All right, and that's going to be at Fair Chapel Hall?
Far Chapel.
Far, okay.
And that's where the exhibit is. The festival will be all of downtown.
Sounds great. Now we're talking a little bit about the panels on the floor there that we're going to show. There's a reenactment there that you were telling me during the break. It's certainly a piece of history I didn't know, but tell us what that shows.
The banner that says the war years, 1944, these are actual pictures from the newspapers. There was a D-Day reenactment on Atchafalaya Bay in 1944, Labor Day. That would have been late August, early September. D-Day happened June 7th.
Yeah, so this is just a couple months later.
Afterward, they got together, Marines from Mississippi, reservists. They had 9 Higgins boats from New Orleans. They had a blimp from, I assume, the Houma blimp depot. And they had flares and smoke screens. And they went across the Atchafalaya and invaded Berwick, I assume, with the Higgins boats. I think it's amazing that happened. Nobody seems to have heard of it, but it's remarkable. Also on there, you see they had a fat man and a skinny man contest. And they even have the names of the people who won those contests. So they're very excited.
I'd be happier to be on the skinny side, but I
Well.
don't think I can ever enter that division. Okay, so another interesting thing that you were involved with, it's an app that you can tell us. Can you tell us, what all went into it? The app on the history of Morgan
Yes.
City, and
The app is called Explore Morgan City. You can download it to your phone from Google Play or the App Store. You can go on your computer and just type in Explore Morgan City. There are, I can see 5 tours there now. It can contain up to 12. And there is a walking tour of downtown Morgan City, a driving tour throughout Morgan City. There is now a Black History tour that has just been released. There's some resources on there for boaters, for people who come to our lake, visitors to the city. And the Living Along the Atchafalaya was an exhibit that I did earlier last year. That's also interesting. But as you go past these places, there are QR codes out in front of the buildings, the locations, but it automatically recognizes that you're near there. The GPS component says, you are near this. Do you want to listen to this? And so there's a 2 to 3 minute slideshow. It's voiced over. You don't have to read it. And there's a little bit of music behind it. There's City Hall. And there's something interesting in most of these things that you didn't know. So bear with it. There's some historical stuff about when it was built. But the City Hall one talks about the alligator that used to be owned by our mayor. His name was Old Bull.
Old Bull.
Old Bull was 10 feet long.
Oh, Lord, that's a big one.
And he loved him and had him stuffed and put into his house when Old Bull died. So each of these locations has a little bit of hidden history that's very interesting.
Now, you're telling me a little bit about another piece of history about there's a bear buried somewhere?
The park, Lawrence Park, used to have a zoo. There were rabbits, there were parrots that were underneath the bandstand in the park. There were alligators and rats, a monkey named Jocko, and a bear named Bruin. And when Bruin died, they buried him in the park. I don't know where, but he is there.
Somewhere's there.
Somewhere's there.
But it's certainly, you just walk past things and you don't realize the history, but you have done a tremendous job of making sure that information is available. How'd you go about, finding all that information?
I listen, I guess, and people tell me things, but I, done research in our archives in Morgan City, online, of course, Googling everything. The Amistad Center in New Orleans has helped out. The Library of Congress.
That's certainly wonderful. Is there any one piece that you find that's the most interesting to you about?
Ooh, gosh. I just like all the behind the hidden history. We've had murders in Morgan City. There's the story of Ada and the Dock, which I don't know if Houma people would know this, but Morgan City know about Ada and the Dock, and I've learned so much about that story. But there have been other murders in town that I've learned about, and things that are buried in places where maybe you wouldn't so much expect it. We found a Civil War belt buckle in our front yard. We live near the river, just digging in the yard, found it. It's possible that Union soldiers were shot and buried in that area when they were prisoners of war.
Yeah, there is.
You just never know.
You never know that there's a tale to tell, and luckily sometimes it's preserved, and you have people like you that help spread the word, and that's just a wonderful thing, and it really is, a great thing that you've done. Again, this. The exhibit's going to be August 19th through the September.
Next Tuesday and through the week after the festival.
That's wonderful. And again, you can get that Morgan City app on your phone, and I might have to go take a tour.
Listen to some history. You can do it in your house.
All righty. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Stay tuned for more right here on HTV.
This segment was brought to you by Cardiovascular Institute of the South, providing our patients the highest quality cardiovascular care available.